This is a review of Survivor Season 28, Cagayan, and we are in Episode 5. Episode 5 with the title, We Found Our Zombies. We got a full recap for you. I got Richie along here. Richie, how are you doing? How are you feeling?
Doing great. It's a Friday, start of the weekend. No better way to start the weekend than a Survivor pod.
No better way. We are going to rename the episode. We're going to talk about which survivor stock is up and stock is down after the events of this episode, and a little survivor press conference of what we would ask the survivors, because this was a very, very great episode. I want to get right into it. Fantastic, top to bottom. Showed you so much. Again, so much of Survivor in one episode. Things that happen all the time, sometimes rare, whatnot. But we start off back at the Purple Camp. Is that right? That's the one who just voted out Cliff.
Yes.
And Lindsay, who just was blindsided, ends up going off at Trish, and they end up going back and forth a ton. And I don't know what you made of it, but it didn't sound as aggressive as maybe like a Brandon Hance, from Fans vs. Fans, which that was like actually pretty like you clinch up when you watch that scene, because it's like,
I don't know if anything can get to that level, honestly.
But I felt like Lindsay was treating it as if it was that, and that didn't really come across. Ultimately, getting her sitting on a rock. Requesting to speak to Jeff, him coming out of the shadows.
Out of nowhere, too.
Out of nowhere. You had to think this was probably a couple hours after Tribal. I wonder if he had changed out of his, or maybe he just sleeps in that garb. We've never seen him in anything else. But yeah, him showing back up, and yeah, not being, I don't know. What did you make of the situation? It's a quitter.
Well, I said out of
we see
nowhere
a Survivor
because,
quitter who, some people have had enough. Some people because of the rain, or they go crazy, or they're injured, or whatever. But a flat out quit over a dispute, there had to have been more there.
I mean, maybe I said like out of nowhere because, again, like we talked about, like it didn't seem like it was that big of an argument. It seemed like it was a normal, hey, I got blindsided. My best friend went home. Like, I'm pissed off. It seemed like a normal conversation argument like that. And all of a sudden Jeff just pops up on the beach, and I'm like, like, why is Jeff here? I was like, maybe he's just going to talk her like out of it, and like she's going to go back to camp. Everything's going to be fine. No, she decides to quit and leave. I don't think that it like had to do with anything other than, I think it's her trying to have her own way to go out. I think she knew she was next no matter what. And I think maybe she wanted to go on her own terms rather than get voted out.
Yeah.
That's all I can think about.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like it's very Survivor to have a quitter, and I had an interesting take about it, that I'm like, dude, that's what makes this season elite too, is because as a Survivor fan, the season really starts at the merge. Maybe the vote before the merge, but like that's when it really gets going. You're lucky if you get a good first, 4 or 5 episodes where it's like, wow, this is at least entertaining, but you mostly forget these people. The merge is where, people make names for themselves, and they really start to blindside and yada, yada, yada. I feel like getting rid of someone, or someone going out early, gets us to the merge faster and gets us to interesting dynamics, because otherwise we probably would have just waited and wasted another tribal for Lindsay to go home. But instead, she's out. We can continue the game. And it is crazy because they leaned into that was such a relief. And there is another scene in this episode where in the sand, they write like, what did they write? They wrote shame on you, Lindsay.
Yeah.
That's like intense.
Which, good for them. I like that.
Yeah, like they really made that a big deal. And I've talked about it before on here, that like Jeff has said like, oh, well, now the internet is plenty to give these people, like, we don't need to punish them on the show anymore. We don't need to, if anyone quits, the internet will do it for us. Like, the passionate, disgusting Survivor fans will rip apart anyone who quits.
That always brings me back to how bad he laid into, I believe his name was Colton, the dude that decided to quit on Blood versus Water.
I need to start that season.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, I'll leave that for you, but just lays into this guy for quitting. And
yeah. And you kind of miss that. I mean, I've thought that before. Um, yeah, and then Tony with his funny little analogy about you take the head, the body follows, and it's just
Dude,
like
that was awesome.
they were. It was interesting that how celebratory everyone it was so quickly.
Even
Um,
when you get to like the challenge, like they get to the challenge, and obviously like the orange tribe is like shocked to see two people gone, and then Jeff tells them that Lindsay decided to leave the game for personal reasons, and Sarah just starts laughing.
Yes, dude, it's so wild. Like, and everyone's just like, yeah, excited, and it's just like, wow, I've never,
Hmm.
yeah, seen this much glee. But it is crazy that like the Braun tribe that started off, the best of the three,
Hmm.
to Braun out right away after the tribe
Quick.
swap. So that's not a great sign, but it does seem like this season so far. I mean, the Brain tribe especially just sitting back, relaxing now. But
Yeah, I mean,
like,
Spencer says he goes, what does he say? I wrote it down. Two people out of the game, and I don't have to do anything. I mean,
yeah,
that's exactly what you want when you're down 6-3.
yeah, and it
So,
just seems like those initial tribe lines won't last. Like every tribe ended up having
hmm.
cracks and whatnot, and that's also an interesting, cool thing because sometimes when tribes stick together the whole time, yeah, it's a great strategy, but it doesn't really make for great Survivor.
It can get
Um,
boring for sure.
yeah, like I mean, the way that D alliance ended up dissolving ended up being pretty interesting and like
Hmm.
backstabbing,
But
but
up until then, like it was kind of boring.
yeah, it was just like,
Yeah.
man, they just keep winning and they keep fooling people. And like, Jake was kind of like, oh, maybe he can win that season. But it's like, it's cool to see that people break those lines pretty quickly.
Hmm.
And yeah, we get to a reward challenge that I'm like, dude, this is dumb. This is dumb. I did not like this one with the tray and the, stack and knock it down. I'm like, I don't know. It's just like, add something.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it for a reward challenge. If it had been for immunity, I think it would have been bad.
Right.
I kind of like it for reward because it's something different.
Yeah.
It's a little bit physical, a little bit strategic. I mean, I think you see right away in the first thing, you see Spencer throw the idol up in the air and then go to knock Luz off. A little bit of strategy there.
Yeah. Yeah, crazy. Like, and also for this reward challenge, though, you get one of a classic Survivor reward with a camp raid,
Mm.
which, yeah, I mean, it even makes the sweets question grow further for me. That I'm like, dude, will you give them sweets? Then usually you follow up that with a big savory meal, but we get a tribe. Um, what is it? What did I say?
Raid.
A tribe raid. So we get the
It
tribe
kind of sucked
raid.
though. I mean, they only got a couple options of what they could take. Like,
Yeah,
I just finished season 4 not too long ago, and like, I mean, they could take whatever they wanted. Like,
yeah.
they had like a couple of set amount of time, and whatever they could fit on their raft, they were allowed to take.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting because it ended up being that it wasn't about what they took. It's like what he
Hmm.
planted, like
Yeah.
the seeds that
Oh
Tony
yeah.
was planting. But also there was something
Oh,
too that I wanted to highlight. If I could just take a highlighter over a scene that I think is interesting foreshadowing. But Wu and Tony are the two that go on the raid, right? Maybe
mm,
two great choices, two great players. And Tony does all the decision making, and Wu just sits
hmm,
back and agrees with him. And I just want to highlight that as like, let's just remember that because this is a
hmm.
camp raid. This is a big moment. And Tony makes a move that I don't know that we would see done in the new era because everyone is very nice and, lying isn't good. But Tony plants a crazy scheme plan, social play on Jeremiah by telling him about an immunity idol clue so that everyone else goes after him. What do you make of this brilliant move that doesn't play out, but does stir stuff up?
I mean, it stirs stuff up, and I mean, it gets people thinking about why did Tony give Jeremiah this clue? And I mean, I was thinking back, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is one of the best, I think, pre-merge move because they haven't merged fully yet. So
No.
it's one of the best pre-merge moves I think I've seen, and
Yeah.
maybe ever. It might be up there, dude.
Yeah, no, it's so funny because it like even because it like makes sense when you're playing
Hmm.
Survivor, you're probably just like, oh, I'm gonna trust what it said, and like Tony's like, oh, me and Wu need to go read this alone at the beach, and it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you could totally twist all that, and even like we see New Era going on these journeys and coming back and mostly telling the
Hmm.
truth now because it is hard to lie, And I don't know if they're casting people who are great liars or who are focused on lying to win a game,
Yeah.
but it would be interesting to have someone in there who is a great liar, or even just actor, because sometimes you get a great advantage and you can't come back and be like, listen, guys, I have an idol or I have a whatever.
Hmm.
You got to be like, I think that's an important part of Survivor, and we see that well played with Tony. Again, full Tony making this move, and uh hilarious, man. Like, even it
That
just
brings up my press conference question early because my press conference question would be for Jeremiah. Like, you knew that that was a fake clue. Why didn't you show the tribe, the rest of the tribe, before Tony and Boo came and got the clue back?
yeah.
Like, show them so that there's no target on your head. He knew that there was gonna be a target on it because they gave him the clue. He knew it was a fake clue. Why not just show the tribe?
Yeah, I my Survivor press conference comes in this moment too, because I mean, we actually see a crack a little bit later, but why didn't Sarah think, "Wait, what are you doing, Tony? Why aren't you giving me the idol?"
Yeah.
Their cops are us, they're Braun, like,
And I mean, they hit on it a little bit, but they don't like go into it.
yeah, like I would think a confessional there that would make sense is
Hmm.
Sarah opening up and being like, "What the heck, Tony? We had an alliance. You're not giving me an immunity idol clue. That could help us.
Hmm.
Whatever, whatever." We see, yeah, again, a brilliant crack later on in the episode. But here, I'm like, yeah, what? To me, it would have seemed like, I don't know, if this was a scripted event, I'd be like, wait, it makes sense for the Sarah character to be upset here. Why wasn't she?
Hmm.
Or was there a conversation that we missed? That maybe
Or maybe she
Tony
just
was like,
had
trust
so
me.
much trust in him and the badge and whatever that she was like, okay, I know Tony's doing what's best for us.
Um, yeah, dude, it's so funny, dude. Like, because Tony just absolutely bodied Jeremiah here. Like, it was so funny, man.
Hmm.
Jeff Rowe is like, wait, he might have a good point. And even Spencer is like, yeah, that's something to consider. And like, the way they cut that all together was just like Tony, like, and him just like being like, yo, this was the plan. This is what I think is going to happen, and it's exactly what happened.
Hmm.
He is one of the great prophets of Survivor.
Oh yeah.
It's amazing calling his shots. Um, yeah, and this is where, like, I don't know. We'll get to the immunity challenge, but you start to see seeds of Alexis being the one that's going to take this charge of taking out Jeremiah.
Kind of
So
like when she first got in that tribe. I mean, she kind of
yeah,
started early. I think she might have realized that she might have gone too hot too quick
yeah,
and slowed down a little bit. But then, I mean, now it's almost do or die time. Now she's got to bring it back up again. So
yeah. Yeah, and then we get to the immunity challenge, and fantastic challenge, man. I love it when there are large
hey,
structures. I think that's a good a machete knife, like, cut, like, that's also amazing and essential. I like the key ring on the rope. I think that is a
hmm,
unique, like, Survivor. Like, these Survivor challenges remind me of like summer camp, and I think that's like a really good, like,
exactly.
you're putting
Yeah.
them through it.
Anybody who went to church camp likes those
Yeah.
kinds of challenges.
And like, yeah, the color war, all that stuff.
Hmm.
Um,
Because I think my favorite ending is when they have to do the four sides. None of the colors the same. That's my
yeah,
favorite ending.
yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, dude,
Hmm.
this, maybe it just needed mud or something. Yeah, I think it's great when they put them through mud the first challenge, and then they have to dive in hay, and then they're all covered, and
Yep.
then they like purposely don't let them go. Anyways, this challenge was fantastic, and yeah, crazy puzzle towards the end. I was kind of confused why they had the same numbers. I think that's an error, and maybe they
Yeah.
realize here, like, oh yeah, we can't give them the same numbers, because yeah, you can cheat, which, like, they've never said you can't do that. People always like cheating at puzzles. That's a Survivor thing that I think no one really has a
Hmm.
problem with, oddly enough. But there, to have the same numbers is ridiculous, and I feel like now they don't do that. Like,
Yeah.
because then, yeah, you could just not unlock a certain thing, or yeah, put together a certain puzzle.
Hmm.
Um, Kind of odd, kind of crazy. Yeah, dude, and LJ a couple times looking like he's tearing his ACL. He like fell in that mud there. Then right at the end, jumping around like, oh man, dude,
Yeah.
just going nuts. Um, yeah, and so the Purple Tribe wins, and we get a great key celebration moment. Tony yelling top five, top five, top five as they're hopping
Yeah.
around celebrating their win.
Shout
And
out Drake.
yeah, hey, not this week.
Hey, not
Not
this
this
week at
week.
all.
Hey, RIP.
He had his moment.
RIP. Um, The over in the Atlanta and Yankee game just hit in the fourth inning.
Right.
Uh, and dude, it's a bold move to yell that because what are they at? They're at 11 right now. They're pre-merge, pre-jury,
Still down in numbers no matter what.
down in numbers. They lost Cliff,
Your best alliance is on the other side.
which I meant to bring that up during the reward challenge. Is that game they were playing?
Mhm.
Imagine if Cliff was still in the game and that was the challenge. That would not be
I
fair.
mean,
Yeah, it'd be
who's
Statue of
getting who's
Liberty.
getting that?
Statue of Liberty. I mean, they probably have a grip rule or something, but I mean, if Cliff was still in the game, that would have been unreal.
Yeah,
Um,
that'd have been fun to watch.
unreal. And it's interesting because the top five thing, like we're at the other tribe, we're at the Orange tribe, and we're talking about Tony the whole time. I think that should be
Yeah.
noted too. That like even at tribal council, like because he said top five, top five, top five, that was great ammunition for Alexis. And I don't know about you,
Hmm.
but I was personally surprised that it didn't work. To not go to Sarah and be like, Sarah, you're out. Literally. Why would you? I don't know. Why don't you? Why do you think Alexis ended up going
Yeah.
home rather than Jeremiah? Because Jeremiah is potentially a threat.
I think that kind of played into it, honestly, for Sarah, thinking, hey, if Tony does want to go with that five, we need strength in order to win this next immunity challenge in order to have the numbers for sure on them.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I think they wanted to keep Jeremiah just for strength. And because I mean, they don't know, you never know for sure when the merger's coming. You really don't.
yeah, yeah.
So,
And it's like I think it gave Sarah pretty good ammunition to be like, look, my original alliance, because a big narrative too, which I really liked, was that they were voting on who would switch at the merge, who would not stay
mhm.
strong, and that's definitely a great angle of how to look at this. Um, and yeah, like Sarah being like, look, they all said they're top five. That means I'm not with them. There's no way I'm switching. When, I guess we don't know yet. We know Sarah's a little ticked off, but the way she voted by sending
Yeah.
Alexis.
And that's what's hard to think too, because you always have to think, hey, in that five, somebody has to feel like they're on the bottom. Maybe they want to switch.
Yeah. And I mean, this is another moment where I'm like Tony gave Jeremiah the immunity thing. Maybe Sarah read that as,
Mhm.
okay, protect Jeremiah. But also, yeah, that's why the whole like why isn't Sarah mad there makes sense to me because then if Sarah's like, oh, Tony is trying to get Jeremiah, I need to get him out right now. To me, that argument made
Mhm.
sense, and
Yeah,
it ultimately
definitely.
was to Alexis' demise. She only was one, and then the brains are now sitting there as the majority in that tribe. 3-2-1. But unreal. Alexis walking out, you get tears, which is pretty, sweet. And then leads to my question for Jeff is these post tribe speeches. They don't always happen. So, I wonder if he films them every time and then they decide in post, do you use them? Or because sometimes it is just, all right, get your stuff. Good night.
Yeah,
But then
that's
sometimes
true.
he's like, they're afraid, like he's trying to tell some parable. I wonder, does he do it every time? Does he like doing it? And yeah, is it mostly cut? I'd be curious
Yeah.
if it's in more tribals than not.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I kind of had one for Jeff too. I kind of want to know if he would ever think about bringing back the raid with the three tribes.
Mm,
And I feel like it'd be cool if they could pick which tribe they would go to raid
yeah.
because I think that could play a little bit more into it down the line.
Yeah. I like that.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I think tribe raid is it's pretty sick, and I think that's
Yeah.
it because it's interesting. Like, and I feel like every episode I try to ask you this too, but would you want to be the one to go on the raid? Because it is kind of a mixed bag. Like, you are the evil one
Yeah.
stealing, but also it seems like usually they get there and they get to build relationships. But depending on how you come off, like it could be a thing of like, oh, when we get to the merge now, we should get Tony and Wu because they took from us. Um,
My first thought is that I would want to go and I would want to be somebody who shows grace to the team you're raiding from.
yeah,
And when you get back to your tribe, say, hey, we were only allowed to pick from these certain things. And so we couldn't take what we wanted to bring
yeah,
because they're never going to know.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's what I think I would want.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I'd want to go too because you just never know
Mhm.
with these advantages and stuff. That would be
Yeah.
interesting that if one person goes, because usually when you go on a journey or some type of exile, like you kind of are getting an
Mhm.
advantage though. Like you get punished, but you get an advantage. It would be interesting. What if the 6 remaining back at camp or 5 remaining, they got the advantage, and then they didn't tell the
Oof,
person when they got back, and it was a weird flipperoo. There's an
that'd
idea
be
free
crazy.
of charge for Jeff and the team. Um,
5 advantages. Wow.
what did you have for stock up, stock down? Who did you have? Um,
I mean, stock up. There's one answer. It's Tony.
yeah, it's Tony for
There's
sure.
nobody. I mean, he dominated the episode, even though he wasn't even on the losing tribe either time.
Yeah,
Made the best move, set himself up, I think, for a good spot come merge time.
yeah,
So my stock up went to Tony.
yeah. I think it's Tony for sure. I think that
Yeah.
move, twisting things up a little bit, like I think it's gonna pay off quite a bit. But yeah, I'd go Tony, and I wonder if we have the same stock down because I don't know with that orange tribe. Is it orange tribe? Wherever Morgan
Yeah.
is. Where's Morgan?
Yeah. Orange.
Yeah. Morgan, she's my stock down. I think Alexis
Oh, okay.
was kind of her shield, but now it's like Morgan's the one that people still have a problem with. She's a little bit like
Yeah.
Venus, where it's like she's gonna go home eventually. You feel, but you don't quite know when because it just always seems like she's not gelling
Yeah.
with people. But she's
My
one of my favorite players. I don't know about you.
hey,
Hey,
different reasons.
hey,
But my stock down was Jeremiah. I think just because he did
yeah,
get that, even though he didn't go home, he still has that. Hey, like he might have that clue. He might have the idol.
yeah,
I think that's still in the back of people's heads,
yeah.
not only on the Orange Tribe, but if Tony and Wu told them what they did, maybe even on the Purple Tribe too. So
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, man, it's a good episode. That's I think it's a funny dynamic because yeah, even Jeremiah is just like, he doesn't even know what to do with that. Because
mhm.
what can you do other than be like, "No, I swear," like I don't know, like
I mean, he could have showed them, but
yeah, but yeah, he missed out on that shot. So, all right, new title for the episode. Like I said, the title came from Cass. We found our zombies as these brain tribe, started to take over in that one. I'm gonna maybe beat you to it if you thought of it too, but I think this episode needs to be called Top 5.
ooh, I like that.
Top
That's a good one.
5, and maybe
Yeah.
even top 5 exclamation point, top 5, top 5, like and then you're confused because
Yeah,
you're like, wait, what episode is this? And then you're like, oh, wonder what that's about.
it is 5.
And it just impacted so much, but top 5.
I like that. Mine actually comes from a point. I think it was right before immunity. Maybe it was after they won the immunity. But Tony goes back to the tribe and tells them, "Hey, like I'm actually not a cop."
Oh.
Tries to like. So hold on. That's not what the title is. The title is it comes from Trish, and she goes, "I'm actually a man." And Tony goes, "I knew it. I knew it."
Dude, I was
So
gonna.
my title is I'm actually a man.
I'm actually a man. Unreal. Yeah, that's so funny. I was
Yeah.
gonna. Yeah, that was another thing. Is yeah, Tony, opened up to everybody. That's
Mhm.
is that a good move? Is that a bad move? It is funny
Well, I
because
mean,
LJ took it as wow, we can trust this guy now, and I'm like,
I
no.
that was crazy to me, bro. To me, I wouldn't trust this guy.
Yeah, no.
If
I'm
he's
like,
going back on what he said he did,
after that, he
no.
is done.
After he
So
had already lied and told them, he told them something else. Then he told them he's a cop. He's like, I'm actually not a cop. Insane.
yeah,
Great. I mean, if it works out, good for Tony.
yeah. That, I mean, it is what it is. I
But
feel.
just the fact that he said so quick after she said that, I knew it. I was dying. It
Yeah,
reminded me of, I think it's a scene in Grown Ups where that happens, where uh, Rob Schneider's girlfriend says, I'm actually a man. And everybody goes, yep,
mm,
it makes sense now.
and she's like, "Oh, I'm kidding." Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's funny. I feel like if I was on Survivor and I couldn't tell people where I worked. Like I feel like that would work against me. They'd be like, "Oh
Right.
man, this guy's gonna." Yeah, I don't know. I feel like
I
that
might keep you around. I might keep you around to interviews post
maybe,
show.
maybe. Nice. Well, yeah. What did you like better? Which title did you like better? Top 5 or I'm actually a man.
I'm really a man.
I'm really a man. From Trish. Some great quotes across the board from a great season. We're going to be back
Yeah.
with episode 6 next.